Okay, it looks like I'm live again. So welcome to yet another segment of Matt's World Radio, or the Matt's World Podcast, the unofficial Matt's World Podcast. Once again, this is not still an official podcast quite yet. I guess it's still just a series of live videos that I make here and there, which I talk about what's new, what's going on in my life, and all that fun stuff. And you probably saw by the title there what I learned as a boat owner. So, for those of you who haven't been keeping abreast, or I'm sorry, keeping up to date, for some reason that word makes me giggle, I have recently acquired a boat, and long story short, have been trying to take it out here and there, and it doesn't seem to want to work at times. Seems like I'll have no problem starting it, and then it doesn't seem to want to go home. Kind of like me, when I go fishing, I don't want to get off the water. That's really a good problem to have if you need to get off the water at a certain point. Like, let's say, I don't know, it's thundering or it's getting dark out. You want to get home on demand. So, so today in this video, I'm going to kind of, I made a list of things that I learned while in the few months that I've owned this boat, and what are some do's and don'ts about, well, on a boat or borrowing a boat for that matter. So some of this stuff might be new to you. You might actually learn something, or you might just look at me and think that I'm completely crazy. Either way, here it all is. Now, before I get too far off the ground, I just have to do one thing to this video here. I just have to make sure that it's being shared. I've got a bunch of flies in here. My video going. Here it is. There it is. Okay. So, oh, wait a second. And if you haven't yet, be sure to like the Loons Call Productions page. After I film this live video, I'm going to go ahead and link it in the description below. And so I'm just putting it on my Facebook page. Once again, that's Loons Call Productions. I guess while I'm at it, why don't I share it on my personal page as well? Okay. And if you haven't already, pour yourself a drink, get comfortable, and we'll have at it. So, okay, let's see here. All right. Yep, it's still recording. Okay, so now before I get too far off the ground here, I do want to remind you on a couple things. Should you become the proud owner of a boat, be sure you pick up a copy of the Coast Guard Regulations Manual. I don't have a copy of one on me, but you will find them at most bait stores, most sporting goods stores. They usually give them out for free. They're these little booklets. They're about, I don't know, like 2 inches by 4 inches. It's just a outline of all the regulations that the Coast Guard enforces. Things like life jackets, things like the buoys and their meanings, what to do about a right-of-way situation, that kind of stuff. Good idea to pick up one of those. Second thing I encourage you to do is look up the regulations as to boats and boat motor sizes in your local body of water you tend to take it out on. Now, that does vary quite a lot from lake to lake. There are lakes that have things like 10-horse limits. There's going to be lakes that require you to have fire extinguishers. In fact, you should have a fire extinguisher on your boat regardless of whether or not it is required by your body of water. And So, and I really don't want to get too much into the regulations end of it. That is going to be something for you to do your own research and understand what you need to do and why you need to do it. So, take a sip here. So I'm just going to go ahead and read this list and kind of give you my little experience of it. Took a few minutes to scribble down some chicken notes here, chicken scratch here. And all these are things I've learned, and there's actually some stories behind some of this stuff. So the first thing you're going to want to do with a boat before you even put it in the water is just make sure you understand the type of gas that it's going to take and if it's going to require the mixing of oil. Now, mechanically, your boat motor is a glorified lawnmower engine, basically, unless it's one of the fancier ones. Your standard outboard motors are going to have carburetors, are going to have oil reservoirs. Now, some of them, though, they will require oil mixing, meaning you'll have to buy this little can of oil, and then you'll have to mix it in, say, 5 gallons or so. And you're going to want to get that right. You're going to, if it's a 5-gallon bottle, then you're going to want to mix it with 5 gallons. You're not going to want to mix it with, say, 4 gallons or 6 gallons. There is a such thing as too much and too little. Excuse me. I've never personally dealt with it myself, but I remember, I want to say it was my uncle. He had a motor like that, and it was a science. He he kind of always had to eyeball that low can, say, okay, is there half a can of it in here? So, okay, that means 2.5 gallons. And so be sure you know what you're getting into if you're buying this boat or if you plan on borrowing one. That's going to kind of bring me to my second tip, and that is learn your boat backwards and forwards. Now, a lot of us, we all drive cars. After years and years of owning a car, you kind of understand the idiosyncrasies behind it. You kind of think, okay, I need to let it heat up over the winter. Okay, an older car, it's eating a lot of oil. In fact, that's the current problem with my Ford Escape. It's been eating a lot of oil lately. So I'm going to want to keep an eye on the oil levels. I'm going to want to let it heat up extra in the winter or give it a longer time to heat up. You know, you eventually learn these idiosyncrasies and you eventually learn to deal with them. Boats have those, and they have those, like, a buku amount of those idiosyncrasies. So you're going to want to know that. You're also going to want to know things like all the features. You're going to want to know what damage is on it. Can it get worse? How is it going to get worse? And, you know, should something happen, you can prepare for it and not be surprised by it, or be able to look into fixing it in the future. Good idea to have this stuff in mind. Then another tip I want to mention, take a swig of this, is make sure you have some kind of backup means of propulsion. So a lot of fishing boats, they now come with, or not come with, but are able to take trolling motors. Trolling motor will, for the most part, get you around most lakes as long as it's pretty calm. You're going to either that or even have a paddle on board. So I did a video about one of my first weekends of owning this pontoon boat, and how I found this antique paddle on board, complete with, looks like a spider web. Looks like Charlotte decided to move in there. For some reason, there's some duct tape here, and there's hardly a handle on it, and half of it's missing. And so I kind of have this hanging on my wall as a memento. My first week of owning the boat, and I tried to paddle this across a bay using this paddle, and it didn't do squat. So I ended up at the cabin finding a stronger paddle and putting that on board. And so now I have that. It does a better job of moving it around, but not a great job. At least I have that on board. And so that's one thing. Have that backup means of propulsion. And so, okay, another one I want to bring up, and this is kind of the legal aspect about it, but make sure it's registered. Much like your car, you're going to get that little, you're going to get a registration sticker. You're going to put it right next to the boat number, like a license plate number. And that lets whoever's patrolling the lake, the DNR, the conservation police, maybe it is a Coast Guard, depending on what part of the lake or country you're on. You want to keep that stuff up to date. Now, I personally never had a problem with this. I've always been in the loop as to whether or not a boat was registered. I always actually make sure to check before I get on the boat. Remember this other time I was with my uncle. He decides to use a boat that hadn't been registered in 10 years. And I just will never forget him just checking over his shoulder every once in a while, checking over his shoulder, making sure no one was coming. And that is not a very good way to go fishing. And on top of that, I mean, it just goes without saying, register your boat. It's like your car. Just register it. Don't get in trouble. And then on your then on the your boat trip itself, be sure to pack stuff like water. Be sure to pack things like rain gear. Be sure to pack things like maybe even extra clothes. Something happens where, let's say, you have to go in the water and you don't have any clothes, dry clothes to wear. You get caught in a freak rainstorm. Now, rain still to this day just shows up sometimes. You'll check the weather in the morning and say, "Oh, it's a nice sunny day up here in northern Wisconsin," and then actually get on the lake and then it starts raining and you're caught without rain stuff. And that has happened to me quite a few times. And fish, they love to bite right before it rains. They really do respond to that shift in barometric pressure, aka that cold front. And so now you have to give up the best day of fishing because you're soaking wet and miserable. So yeah, be sure to pack for the weather. Be sure to bring the appropriate stuff, water. And I can't stress this enough. You're better off having too much water than too little water on hot days. Dehydration sets in out in the middle of the lake, and it does get hot in the middle of lakes. No trees around. There usually is somewhat of a breeze, but not always. So be sure to bring extra water. And I think this is probably going to be my most important thing. But bring a cell phone that you know will work out there, that you know will get great reception, and the battery will not fart out on you. And then be sure to charge it right before you go fishing. Now, the reason why I bring this up is last time I got stranded out on the lake on my boat, what happened was I got drifted into an area that that no one else was around. This was on the side of a cranberry marsh. The guy who owns it is not just going to randomly be out there. Other boats couldn't see me. I couldn't wave anyone down, and I ended up having to resort to taking my phone out and actually calling 911. First, I called the county dispatch, and then they told me to call 911, in which they were able to get a readout on my location via my phone. And what was funny about that situation was the same gentleman that I was talking to at Sawyer County Dispatch was the same guy that answered the 911 call. he went through this usual rigmarole. Oh, 911, what's your emergency? I'm like, yeah, I'm stuck out on the lake. Oh, hey, Matt, how's it going? I know you. We were just talking a few minutes ago. It's like, oh, man. Okay, well, here I am. Then what had happened was they ended up sending a guy out to pick me up. He picked me up, told me right back to shore or to the cabin, and it all worked out. And then as far as your phone, make sure that it's, like I said, is charged, holds a charge. Make sure that it's a newer phone. It won't die in the cold. Now I'm not necessarily endorsing iPhone, but I have had luck with mine in terms of dealing with the colder weather, in terms of dealing with getting reception out in the middle of the lake. In fact, the reception was so good, and I have Sprint, and it works pretty well up in northern Wisconsin. I was able to get those phone calls out. I was even able to do a live video out there. So I'm pretty sure sure Android would work, Galaxy would work. Those phones should work just fine. Just like I said, be sure of the coverage, be sure of the battery life. I cannot stress that end of it enough. So this was just a few things that I learned while owning a boat. I probably could go sit here all night and just rattle on and on and on about all kinds of stuff. But otherwise, thank you for tuning in today for this segment of Matt's World Radio, or the Matt's World Podcast, whatever you want to call it. Thanks for your continued support. Thanks for liking the Loon's Call Productions page. Thanks for subscribing and liking this video. And overall, thanks for being a great audience. And until next time, I am Matt Gerloff, signing off. I hope to see you out there.